Hello, gorgeous. This is Gail Burwell, the founder of the Rockstar Wellness series. And today I have a fantastic guest with me. Her name is Sonja Montague Mc Kay. And she's going to tell you in person what she's doing. But I brought her here because she's amazing at what she's doing. And we're going to discuss about everything start with your sleep. Sonja, welcome.
Thank you. I am so excited to be here. This is like my first Facebook Live.
Oh,
Yay!
it's good. It's going to be good. Oh, we're going to love it. So can you tell us basically what you do?
Oh, that's such a huge question. So I'm involved in well-being and leadership. So I run the More Human company, which is focused on supporting individuals and leaders really not to burn out and to show up as good people. And I also run the School of Wellbeing, which is a place where I support people to reduce their stress, get better sleep, and bring more mindfulness into their life. So that's it in a nutshell. It's like live better, live with greater ease.
It's nice. I like this little title. Yeah. Okay, great.
Thank
So
you.
I know you're an expert in sleep. You know a lot of stuff about it. And I remember when I met you, I learned a lot. I learned a lot, I remember. And that's why I thought about you first. So my first question would be why are we all getting so tired?
Because we try and do too much. Um, we live in a world which is on 24/7, so we're all overstimulated, and we've forgotten how to pause. And all of our sleep cycles are so dysregulated that we're tired for many reasons, but largely because we're not getting enough quality of sleep and we're not getting enough quantity of sleep. And that's because we don't prioritize it. We see it as a nice to have, whereas it's the number one thing that we can actually do to support our overall mental and physical well-being.
Okay, so not enough quality and quantity of sleep. Okay,
Yeah.
can you tell us why have to get this quality of sleep? Why is so important?
So I mean, the quality is crucial, as much as the quantity, and that's what people seem to forget. So we
Mm-hmm.
get through a number of sleep cycles throughout the night,
Okay.
and the deep sleep that we need in order to rejuvenate and repair and all the good things that we want from sleep, they happen to only when we're in deep sleep. And deep sleep happens as we go further into the night.
Okay.
So if you're only getting superficial sleep, then you're actually not going to get all of the benefits. And if you wake up multiple times a night, again, you're not going to be getting that really deep sleep and the REM sleep that is really where a lot of the healthy repair, recover, all the memory uploads to the cloud happen, which I'll explain. So yeah, it's people they go, oh, I slept for 8 hours last night, but did you really sleep for 8 hours, or were you actually awake a lot through that evening? So that's why the quality of your sleep is really important, to make sure you're going through full sleep cycles.
Okay, because we think it's true. We think a lot about quantity, about 7 to 8 hours of sleep. But what you're saying is the quality is important as well, in the sense that is when you sleeping deeply or
Absolutely.
profoundly, that you if I'm not wrong, basically we said that this is a time when your body is going to heal everything. I heard something about when it's happening, the brain is going basically to clean everything in your brain as
Yeah,
well with different.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe if I maybe just take a step back and just explain. I kind of like to have this little story arc when it comes to sleep. And I would pose the question to everyone, why do we get tired? And we don't really think about sleep other than when we're brushing our teeth and we're putting our pajamas, right? So it's not something that we actually think about very rarely throughout the day, unless we're actually tired, right? So if we're tired, we're like, oh my God, I didn't get a good sleep last night, or I can't wait to get to bed. Everything that we do throughout the day will contribute to how well we sleep or how poorly we sleep. So I think that's a really great place to start, is that it's not just what you do as soon as you get ready to climb into bed. Everything that you've done prior to getting ready to go to bed is an indicator of how well or how poorly you'll sleep. And when I started to research sleep, in part because I recovered from chronic fatigue syndrome, and I spent a year getting a lot of sleep because I was constantly exhausted, but it wasn't refreshing sleep.
Okay.
So then I got very curious. I was like, why is it when I'm sleeping all the time, I wake up completely exhausted? And that's kind of where my little journey into the whole world of well-being started. But when I say to people, why do we get tired? People go, I don't know. So I asked you, why do you get tired? Do you know?
I would say maybe I'm not, I don't know. Sorry.
No, and that's like a perfectly valid answer, right? It's perfectly valid. So there's two things that are at play in our body which cause us to get tired. So throughout the day, there's a thing called sleep pressure, which builds up. So as we burn energy, we create this thing called adenosine. And adenosine builds up throughout the day for about 16 hours. And as it peaks at about 16 hours after we've awoken, we start to feel sleepy. And the second part of that cycle is your circadian rhythm, which everyone will have heard of. So our circadian rhythm is, what manages our internal, it's our internal clock. It's our about 24-hour clock. But what people don't understand is that both of these things don't talk to each other, and they're both impacted by habits that we as humans all have, which impact on us not getting good sleep. So if I take adenosine as an example, adenosine, which builds in your brain throughout the day, imagine it's floating around in your brain and it's sending all these signals going, I'm tired, go to bed, go to sleep. And you have some caffeine. What it does is it basically wraps that signal in a blanket and your signal doesn't get out.
Okay.
So that's one of the things that we do that will actually impact on our ability to fall asleep and to feel tired. So caffeine because it passes through the blood-brain barrier. So, and caffeine has a half-life. So if you have coffee after 2 o'clock in the afternoon, but it's not only coffee, it's caffeine. It's in ice cream, it's in chocolate, it's in nicotine, it's in medications. Because everyone thinks, oh, but I didn't have any coffee. Yeah, but I bet you had that bowl of ice cream.
That's true.
Right? So that's one reason. So that's one of the reasons why we get tired, is this buildup of adenosine. And then the other thing is your circadian rhythm. What people don't know is that we actually have a master clock in our brain called our suprachiasmatic nucleus. I know, it's a really cool name, right? I was like very excited when I discovered this. And what that does is it sits behind your retina, behind your eye. And it gets signals. And what it does is that's what's responsible for releasing melatonin. And that's the other part of your sleep cycle. Now, a lot of people think melatonin helps you fall asleep. That's a myth. What melatonin does is it signals to your brain, is it light or is it dark? Right? So these two, and can you imagine what we do as humans that upset that signal?
We watch our mobile screen, laptop very late. And even watch TV so late with Netflix, with binge watching Netflix, for example, until 1 or 2 a.m. Oh my God.
Exactly, right? So this is what happens. So we're basically sending that signal. So there's these little This was only discovered in 2002. So there's these retinal cones called melanopsin. So out of about 100,000 of these retinal cones, only 5,000 are called melanopsin. And melanopsin is highly sensitive to the blue light from our phones. So effectively what you're doing is you're beaming daylight into your eye. So you're not going to release melatonin. So that your pituitary gland is not going to open the valve to release melatonin. So then you're not going to know you're tired because your brain thinks it's daylight. It's like, oh, I'm not going to send you to sleep. So that's why, please don't use your phone in bed. And if you really, really, really have to use your phone in bed, get those orange glasses, the ones with the filters, because it's the melanopsin isn't as sensitive to orange light. But I would say avoid it. So, so why do you get tired? You get tired because your brain gets a signal that it's getting dark, and it also is the buildup of adenosine, which is saying, okay, now I'm sleepy, I've got this buildup, and it only gets broken down through sleep. So I know,
no, it's true.
So it's like, now, why do you get tired?
Yeah, because you do realize that you're not helping your body and your brain at all.
No, you're really not. And it's the modern life, right? So our ancestors didn't have this problem. I mean, it all started with Edison and his light bulb. We blame Edison all the time. And that's where things started to change. And then we went through the Industrial Revolution, and people were working factories, and we had much more light exposure, and we had to go to work. We had to be up at certain times. So we no longer move with the rhythm of nature. So really, how can we, as humans who live in a 24/7 society, start to take back control of our own rhythms so that we can actually get a good night of rest? And the average adult needs between 7 to 9 hours of sleep each and every night to perform optimally.
Between 7 and 9. Wow.
Yeah, between 7 and 9. I need 8 hours of sleep every night. Otherwise, I am so grumpy and not a good person and find it really hard to concentrate. So I mean, that's what you need each and every night.
Okay, I know me, I need to have 7. When I have 7, it's okay. I'm good. But less than 7, and
and as we get older, we don't need less sleep. So there's this idea that as, older people, so we often think as our parents or grandparents not needing the same amount of sleep. There's no difference. They absolutely need the same amount of sleep. But what tends to happen as you get older is your sleep gets more fragmented.
Okay.
So they find it harder to stay asleep for longer.
So it's taking more time for the body to heal by himself during the night. Okay.
Yeah. So lack of sleep, and you were talking about, so it's like, what's the benefits of sleep? I mean, there's so many. And really it's where we move into rest and repair mode. And I would say that if there's one reason to get a good night of sleep is that you age less. So if you want to stay young and beautiful and have beautiful skin tone, then get a good night of sleep, because when you get deep sleep, what you do is you release human growth hormone. And that's what repairs your bones and your cells and regulates your hormones and also your melatonin. So that's one of the benefits of deep sleep. The other one, there's new research coming out all the time in the neuroscience community around the link with Alzheimer's and the lack of deep sleep.
Okay.
So they've discovered that there is a protein called beta amyloid, which builds up in our brain, but actually our brain sends in a cleaning crew every night. And this has only recently been discovered. And that cleaning crew actually gets rid of the beta amyloid in our brains. So it goes in there and suctions it up and clears it out, but it only happens when we're in deep sleep.
Yeah.
So there's been studies on this and the link to dementia and Alzheimer's. And one of the most important things that happens in deep sleep is memory consolidation. So if you think about your brain as a hard drive.
Okay.
So say we have like, you know, a terabyte of data available every day.
Mm-hmm.
Once that's full, it's full. And the way that we upload it to, so that's held in our hippocampus, which is where we retain our short-term memories. And then in order to upload that to the cloud, so up to our cortex
Mm-hmm.
to go into our longer-term memories, we have to sleep and we have to get deep sleep.
Deep sleep in order for this to happen.
Absolutely. And it also controls things like your hunger hormones. So I don't know about you, have you ever woken up after a really terrible night of sleep and the first thing you do is go and eat the worst food ever? Right? You crave sugar.
No, but sometimes it's true. I woke up and I just want to eat, and I said, "What's happening?"
Yeah. It's because your hormones are out of whack. So it's like your hunger hormones, if you don't get good enough sleep, then you start to crave foods which are actually quite bad for you. Because you don't get the I am full signal.
Okay, I'm learning a lot.
Oh my God, there's so many things. Honestly, you know, it's like not getting enough sleep reduces your sex drive.
It's true.
Right? Sucks for everyone.
Honest, yeah.
Increases the chance of obesity, reduces your concentration, impairs your emotional regulation. So you're much more likely to be grumpy, snappy, get angry, you know, go a little bit crazy if anyone cuts you off in traffic. And, you know, you become really clumsy.
No, it's true, because I remember me when I had I have my daughter, and I didn't sleep so much. It was only maybe 4 or 5 hours per day. I was a zombie. I mean, it was tough, you know, just to focus on the day, to do all the things you want to do. I couldn't. After, I think, 1 week, I just cried for all the day because I think I bottled up so much and I couldn't take it anymore. I just couldn't sleep.
You become really hypersensitive, right? Because, you know, and that's why you shouldn't make big decisions if you're overtired. You know, there's so many quotes out there, but it's around, you know, everything is better after a good night of sleep. So you might be catastrophizing about something late into the evening, but once you get a good night of rest, then, you know, things are better. But naps are ideal. So especially, you know, if you're a mom and, you know, things are a little bit crazy right now. So, you know, kids are getting schooled from home. You're probably not been able to come up for air. Sneak away and try and have a nap. Or if they're having a nap, nap at the same time. 20 minutes is perfect for a nap. So either do 20 minutes or do like a full sleep cycle, which is roughly about 90 minutes. But ideally 20 minutes is ideal for a nap, just to rest and rejuvenate. And if you can't nap, meditate, or, you know, listen to a guided visualization like a yoga nidra. So there's lots of ways to navigate it, because, you know, we live in the real world, and sometimes it's hard if you have, you know, young children, or, you know, you do shift work. It's not possible to do that. But yeah, napping is great.
Napping, yeah, definitely. I notice it because it's not happening to me a lot, but when it's happening, I really, really recover. It really brings so much great results. I know when I meditate as well, it helps me a lot.
Definitely. I mean, I would definitely recommend, you know, I have an app. So if I'm tired, like if I'm working and I'm like, oh, yeah, no, I'm not focusing, I'll come down and I'll either sit and do 20-minute meditation, or I'll stick in a yoga nidra and I'll close my eyes, lie down in shavasana, and 10 minutes later, I feel great.
Okay.
Absolutely. You know, even someone who teaches sleep, I still struggle to sleep sometimes. So permission
I
to be
love
human.
this, because you're working in partnership with your body and your brain. You give him what he needs in order to, you know, start over and work for you.
Our bodies are really smart, but we don't listen, right? We push through. We decide at 9 o'clock at night we're just going to watch another episode of Netflix, right? So it's about choice. It's about making an informed choice. And for me, it's like, if I can share with people the science behind it, it's like, this is a why. This is a why sleep is important. Then it's entirely up to you what you do with that information. And
Yeah,
if
for
you
sure.
choose to ignore that information, that's absolutely fine. But at least you know what's happening to your body. You're
Exactly.
basically shortening your lifespan. Why would you do that for another episode of Netflix, right? It's
Oh
like
my goodness.
crazy.
When you put it this way, you're, oh my goodness me. But it's true.
Yeah.
It's
No, like
totally
Matthew Walker's book is amazing, like, why we sleep. And it's like, the Bible for anyone who's interested in sleep. And he states it categorically. You are shortening your lifespan and you're increasing your risk of cancer, diabetes, heart disease, all of the above, if you don't prioritize sleep.
wow. But it's so good. It's so good that you're telling us that because we need to hear it more often. And that's why I wanted for you to be there and to explain it to us because there is always
Yeah,
a science behind it, evidencing that
absolutely.
sleep must be a priority for us and not basically binge watch Netflix
Yeah.
until 3 a.m.
But it's only recently that neuroscience has started to understand sleep, and there's a lot that's still misunderstood. There's a lot of things that people still don't know. So it's only really been in the last 5 to 10 years that sleep was a mystery before then. No one actually knew because we didn't have the technology to be able to scan our brains. So honestly, we live in a generation where we are so fortunate to have all of this information, where we can understand the benefits of meditation. We can
Yeah,
understand the science behind sleep. Whereas before it was just like, well, I feel better when I wake up, so if I get a good night of rest,
yeah.
I'm going to do it.
No,
Whereas
it's
now,
true. You
there's new research coming out all the time around, the benefits to our brain and our physical well-being and our mental well-being. Especially now as we're all in lockdown and it's a very challenging time for everyone. So getting a good night of rest will enhance your chance of coming out the other side still in intact relationships.
Yeah, but it's true. Let's face it,
No,
it's not easy,
genuinely true.
and yeah, and I saw a lot of people are working out and everything, and I say, yeah, no, this is good, but that's why I wanted to know more about sleep because me, I have no difficulty basically to sleep. I think me in 10 minutes, I just put my head
Amazing.
on the yeah on a pillow and I'm gone. You can ask my husband.
Yeah.
In 5 minutes I can be gone, but that's why sometimes I say, okay, I'm sleeping, but I'm really happy to hear about the quality of my sleep because the quality, maybe this is where I need to work around it a little bit more because, yeah, there are some days, yeah, you feel tired. You don't know why.
Yeah. And it really is looking at, I mean, I do it myself. So it's, what are your habits? What are your sleep rituals? How do you prepare to go to bed? And I've been playing with this a lot for myself to work
Mhm,
out I always experiment on myself first before
mhm.
I share it with
Oh,
anyone else. And so I'm not going to go into great detail about sleep cycles, but you have NREM, which is non-REM, and then you have REM. And REM is when we dream.
yeah.
And you go through like the 4 stages of sleep. And deep sleep is really stage 3 and 4, and then you have REM. And they tend to happen, as I was saying, you know, you dream normally just before you're ready to wake up. It happens very late into the early into the morning or late into the night, whatever way you look at
Okay.
it. The things I've found most helpful for me to get a good night of rest and genuinely deep, rejuvenating sleep. So there's a few things I do. I sleep with an eye mask. So I wear an eye mask to block out the light so that we're not super sensitive to light. Now, I do wear a silk eye mask because I don't really want any more
Mhm.
beautiful laughter lines. I also I have an earplug because I live in, a city and there's actually normally like birds and stuff outside, but they're not nice birds, they're like seagulls. So it's kind of like removing all senses.
Mhm.
I don't have any food after 7 o'clock at night.
Oh my God, you
So
got it.
I found by doing intermittent fasting that I no longer wake up in the middle of the night. So I used to wake up around 1 or 2 a.m. to go to the bathroom. And then what happens is your brain kicks in, right? So either you're exposed to light or you start to think, and then you go into rumination, which I'll come back to. And I discovered by changing my eating patterns. So I have huge breakfasts and I basically have my main meal around 4 o'clock, that I sleep amazingly well. So, you know, that was something that I definitely changed. The next one is never popular. I gave up alcohol.
Totally,
and I didn't give up alcohol for my sleep. I gave up alcohol just for my health because I kept getting sick every time I would have a drink. So it kind of sucked.
Yeah, no, if it's better for you, yeah, go for it. You're right.
You know, and the other ones which I say to people are like no caffeine after 2 o'clock. And also just look at your bedroom. Is your bedroom a sanctuary? Or is it full of crap, right? Do you have clutter everywhere? Because your brain picks up on that and it increases your cortisol levels. And your cortisol is a stress hormone. And if you're flooding your system with cortisol, I mean, it does waking you up in the morning, but, you know, it knows that the place is a mess. So you may find it harder to get to sleep if that's the case.
It's true. I mean, I try as much as I can really to make my bedroom as beautiful and soothing and calm. Like this, when I'm coming, it's such a dream.
Yeah, and I have to say, for the most part, I sleep really well. When I don't sleep is, so if I'm like, I still get stressed, right? I'm human. So if something's really bothering me or, you know, there's something playing on my mind, I might do the whole waking up at 2 a.m. thing. And as soon as I say someone, like, I help people sleep, they go, I keep waking up at 2 a.m. What's happening? And this is where insomnia tends to come in. And do you want me to explain the kind of hack for that?
Yeah. I'm really amazed. I'm fascinating by this subject because I'm thinking about.
Sorry, I kind of like, it's like winding up like a doll, and like you just let me go, and then I just like, I'm like, oh yeah, and then there's this, and then there's this. So the insomnia thing's amazing. So what happens is, and again, it comes from our ancient ancestors. So if you think about it, we used to live in caves, right? And if we were threatened in any way, we would get eaten. So we were kind of always hyper vigilant. So this is where breathing comes in. So learning how to breathe fully and properly from your belly and your diaphragm basically sends a signal to your limbic system, so your amygdala, which is that fear part of your brain. That's what's getting triggered when you're waking up at 2 or 3 a.m. You're going into fight or flight. You're activating your sympathetic nervous system. But you're not activating it because you're about to get eaten. You're activating it because you didn't send an email, or you're worried about a presentation, or you don't know how you're going to cope with another day of the kids at home and you're trying to like juggle everything. So the best way to counteract that and tell your brain everything's okay is to breathe from your belly. So when you're lying in bed, inhale very slowly to the count of 6 and exhale very slowly to the count of 6. And if that doesn't work, extend your exhale even longer, which turbo boosts the calming part of your nervous system. And I swear you'll be asleep in like 5 minutes.
Because I know that when you do that, you start to have access to your parasympathetic nervous system, which is the one helping you to heal and to relax. Because me, I notice it when I'm doing it, some breathing, I start to yawn. And I know when I start to yawn, I activated my parasympathetic nervous system, and I know I'm going to relax the way I want to. So you're saying that if you do that, we're going to counteract basically this tendency that to think about the next email, the next urgency.
Absolutely. And the trick is, like, our brains are really smart, but we can't count and freak out at the same time. So you can't think about the email if you're counting. So that's why it's really about counting and slowing it down.
Slowing down. Yeah.
And the most important thing to remember is breathe from your belly, because if you breathe from your chest breath is basically a stress breath. And this is what I teach when I teach breathing. And that's sending the signal to your brain that you're in danger, because it's getting you ready to flee.
Oh, wow. Okay. So it's
Right?
really important. Yeah.
Super, super important. And it's really simple. This is common sense, right? But it's like when you
Yeah,
hear it the first time, you're like, oh, of
yeah,
course.
but me, I know, but I'm not sure a lot of people know about it, how to breathe, from your belly,
Yeah,
from your heart,
no, I know.
Especially, I
That's
think
why I
for
teach
people,
breathing.
yeah, yeah, but it's brilliant because I know from people meditating or doing breath work, they know. But it's only when I started to meditate that I learned more about it. Or when I remember I was younger and I was singing. When
Yes,
you're singing a lot, you learning about the way to breathe in order to get enough capacity to sing.
absolutely. So you would
See?
engage your diaphragm a lot, and when it comes to singing. And
Yeah.
most of us today, we've unlearned how to breathe. I mean, when I got really sick and I started to explore, I was like, how did I get this sick? How did this happen to me? Chronic fatigue is no joke, and it took me like 5 years to fully get back to health.
Wow.
Um, and when I was doing a master's in wellbeing and a course in Australia, because I was like, I need to figure this out, right? I've clearly done something really, really wrong to myself, and I don't know what it is. And one of the modules that we were doing, I chose breathing as something for me to focus on. And that's when I discovered I was a chest breather.
Wow.
And I didn't know before that. I had no idea. I just breathed, right? The same
Yeah,
way
if you
everyone
have no
breathes.
clue, if you have no
Um,
awareness about it, no.
Absolutely. And I had no awareness. And it was only through, pulling that thread. And here I am many years later, actually teaching it, because I realized how fundamentally important it is to reducing our stress, emotional regulation, and sleep.
Sleep.
So
Yeah.
for anyone who's watching and listening and does waking up between 2 and 3 a.m., really breathe from your belly, do
Yeah.
the counting, and if you still struggle, if you extend your exhale longer than your inhale, what that does is it basically, what I say, turbo boosts the calming part of your nervous system, which is your parasympathetic nervous system. And
Yeah.
it's very easy to do, and I
Yeah.
would be surprised. The only caveat around that is women who are going through perimenopause. Um, which I am, and I did struggle with sleep for a while because of that. And that's where I used my yoga nidra, because I wasn't always getting a full night of rest
Okay.
because my hormones were in such fluctuation. So that's where, if you find that you're not getting the deep rest
Mm-hmm.
during the day, do another practice like a meditation or a yoga nidra, or the deep breathing to regulate your
Regulate.
hormones. Yeah.
No, very, very interesting. Okay. So, I love it, honestly. So I know that you talk about breath work. So do you have
Yeah.
anything coming up for us to breathe the right way?
So yeah, you prompted me to do stuff, because I've been so busy creating courses and content for some of my clients. I was like, and like none of us can go outside to teach. So I'm actually running a breathing course and a sleep course on the 16th of August.
Okay.
They will be on my website tomorrow. There's an Eventbrite link at the moment. So I'm doing two, I think, 90-minute sessions where basically I take people through the foundations of how to breathe properly, and you get access to timers and guided meditations,
Okay.
because the breathwork stuff is really important around building flexibility into our autonomic nervous system. Yeah, it sounds so. Yeah, 16th of August, I've got 2 classes coming up, and
Okay.
then I'm thinking about running a wellness day. We'll see. I haven't organized anything yet.
Let us know
Um,
anyway. But I find it, yeah, I find it
yeah,
great
you
because
know,
it's such an amazing time, I would say, because it's summer and because we have the time to relax a little bit. And I think it's good to be equipped for the months ahead when you know how to sleep properly. You know, when you work in
Yeah.
partnership with your body and your mind.
And that's the thing. And the classes I teach are really interactive. So I'll give some information, but then I'll get people to reflect on, what do you currently do? And it's only when you pause to reflect, you
Exactly.
go, oh, actually, you know what? I do all the things that I really shouldn't be doing.
No, but it's true. It's often during these classes, you know, that we ask this question and people take the time, you know, they have the time to think about it. They have the time.
Yeah,
And this is why
exactly.
we say, oh, no, I don't do that at all. You know?
Yeah. I mean, and it's like everyone's slightly different. So it's about trying things on for size and to see what works for you. So I've spent, many years shaping. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not exactly the life and soul of the party. I go to bed at 9 o'clock and I'm waking up between 5 and 6. And I'm very happy doing that. There's occasions where, I will go out. Well, no one's going out right now, but when you can go out, doesn't, there's some times where I'll, break my own rules, and that's absolutely fine. But for the most part, it's about regularity of life, so that we're actually repairing everything. And I love going to bed. I love going to sleep.
But
It makes me really happy.
when you think about the benefits and the time you're taking basically to sleep, of course you're going to love to sleep. Why not? You know, it's giving to you
Yeah.
everything. So, okay, so I will put definitely the details of your website in the comment section below.
Thank you, darling. And I'm happy to take any questions from anyone. Like if they want to email me directly, I'm more than happy to answer questions. I've got a couple of online courses. So I have a breathing course and a sleep course on the School of Wellbeing. But I much prefer to do stuff in person with people. I just think it's more fun when it's interactive and,
Yes,
you can problem solve together.
yeah,
But yeah, get sleep. Switch off your phone. Stop binge watching on Netflix.
yeah. Or if you want to, you try, you know, to watch Netflix during the day, but not during the night, you know, and you just think about the potential you can do in your life when you have all this time to properly sleep and make
Yeah.
quality.
Honestly, it's like you won't age as quickly and you'll just be a nicer person.
I think everyone needs that right now.
Right? Absolutely. I swear I've aged in lockdown. I swear to God I've aged in lockdown. It's like everyone keeps saying it. It's like, I've aged in lockdown. I was like, me too.
But no, thank you so much, Sonja, to have
Thank
been
you
with
for
us.
having me. It's been so fun.
Yeah, no, it was a pleasure. I'm pretty sure you will come back. I'm not surprised about it. But thank you so much to have shared your experience, expertise about it. You will have all the details about Sonja. She's amazing at what she's doing. And I will see you next week, gorgeous, for another episode of the Rockstar Wellness series. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Sonja. And I send you all so much love. Bye.
Thank you, guys.